Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. We're having a great conversation with Michael Santelli of Guarenteed Rate, and we just talked about interest rates, and we really talked about how that's going to impact the purchasing power for buyers, what it's going to do for the purchase market and the refinance market. And I'm going to tell you in just a second what I think is going to change on the seller's side of things. But we also want to talk with Michael about the difference between getting pre-qualified and pre-approved, or getting just approved for a mortgage, and how that's going to impact the process of buying a home or analyzing multiple offers if you're a seller. And then finally, with this focus on interest rates, there's the other side of the equation that not many people or lenders or agents talk about, and that's just the cost of getting a loan. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Now, if you want to contact Michael, again, Michael, what's your contact information?
So again, you can get me on my cell phone anytime. Personal cell phone number is 412-953-2491 or michael.santelli@rate.com, or get a hold of Brian, do a Google search, you'll find me.
Right on. If you'd like to contact our team, our website is listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about myself and my team and who we are, what we do, how we sell our real estate, homes we've sold. A bunch of just informational stuff is on that website. It can also be linked to our website specific to this radio show, charlestonrealestateradio.com. And of course, you can find us on iTunes and Google Play and Spotify and YouTube and all kinds of great stuff. We're just about everywhere, thanks to Sam O'Neill, my marketing manager. And like our Facebook page, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
Sam, the video that he did yesterday, I got to touch on that. That was unbelievable.
You
have to check it out.
It's so good. I really hope that's the one that goes viral.
It made my mama proud. She saw it. She loved it.
I was talking to John Quincy on Friday morning about that video, because he laughed at it too. And I said, because I was watching the video Thursday was my 10-year anniversary with my wife. And
congratulations.
Thank you. So we're just chilling outside, and I'm on the Chase Lounge at the pool, and I play that video, and she's laughing out loud. And I was like, that is the sign that, that is a good video. When someone that isn't even watching it but hearing it laughs out loud, job well done, sir. Well, anyways, let's get back into this. And again, if you want to reach out to me, you want to talk about connecting with Michael, maybe you're thinking about refinancing, or you're thinking about buying a home, or of course, selling a home, then give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. So, we talked about the fact that interest rates have gone down based on the Fed's decision to, not rake up or hike up the interest rates this year. And so from the seller side of things, now we've got this even higher resurgence of demand in our market. March, April, I'm telling you, it's a very busy time of year. It's when we see historically the highest number of new listings hit the market and the highest number of properties go under contract, which is why we typically see May and June as the two highest months of the year for closings. A lot of people are looking right now at transacting and, getting the home under contract or listed so that they can sell it, so that we can get their families transitioned before school starts back. Or, of course, we've got a bunch of inventory that hits the market in some of the more specialty areas of Charleston for folks that are looking at second homes and rental income properties and all kinds of great stuff. So it's just a very busy market. And
you guys are already seeing it too. I've already seen an uptick in pre-approvals, which obviously we're going to talk about. But yeah. I would imagine on your side, you're seeing a good bit of activity already starting.
I'll tell you what, we have a massive amount of people that will be selling their home with us in the next up to 90 days. And those come in the form of coming soon listings. We signed a listing agreement. Now we're working on getting their home prepared. Some people aren't ready to list immediately when we first meet with them. In fact, that's preferred. If someone wants to call me and they say, hey, Brian, we're thinking about selling our house, I'd like at least 90 days, if possible, so that we can get our free stager in there, the decorator and designer, to give you some tips and tricks on what to do. We want to do the pre-listing home inspection that we offer for free. We want to do a bunch of pre-marketing to build some interest in the property so that we have this nice foundational element of interest before we hit the market. And the really cool thing about what we're doing right now, all this interest that we're building in the background, is that it doesn't count against the seller's days on market, which is why, I mean, we just sold a $1.25 million home for full price with multiple offers in 2 days on the market. But what they don't see is the weeks and weeks of time and effort that we put in behind the scenes to achieve that.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why you call Brian and his team.
Thanks, buddy. So I want to pick up where we left off, which is the process of getting pre-qualified or pre-approved or getting approved for a mortgage. Because the way most buyers work is they start shopping online for homes, and then they go and view homes, and then they see something they like, and then they get connected to an agent that, frankly, is the first agent that gets in contact with them that appears to have a pulse and can speak somewhat intelligently about the real estate market, and then you are then subjected to their contacts or maybe a personal relationship that you have with your lender, which is all fine, but that's usually how the process goes, rather than...
That's an excellent analysis.
It's true.
It's very true.
It's how it goes. What I would prefer people to do is contact a real estate agent that has all of those contacts for you, that can save you time, energy, frustration, and money by helping you better understand the process, using their connections, relying on their expertise to get you through the process, and show you how to make money in this process, save money in little chunks here, and here, which also, by the way, comes in the form of time. You're going to spin a lot of wheels if you go about this process on your own. And the fact of the matter is, you don't pay anything. You don't pay anything for our services.
That's exactly right.
So let's talk about getting pre-qualified or pre-approved and approved. Let me just ask this very simple question. What is the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval, and why does that matter?
So the simple difference between the two is that pre-qualification just means that a loan officer like myself has pulled your credit. They may have seen your pay stubs. They may have seen your bank statements. And they've ran automated underwriting, ideally. But you don't have loan commitment, and that's the big piece. So you don't have a lender saying, we will lend you this money based on these conditions, because an underwriter hasn't stamped it and approved it yet. It's just a pre-qualification. The pre-approval, though, is that full loan package. So we've gotten the documents, all the supporting pay stubs and bank statements, your ID, your W-2s, everything. We've submitted it to underwriting, and we actually have loan commitment. That's what we call it, or underwriting approval, conditional approval. And what we have at that point is basically confirmation that you're not only going to get approved, or you are approved, how much we can get you approved for. And that's a big deal. Also, it just takes all of the guesswork out. And just like you were saying about having people contact you for a listing beforehand, that's what I want to see. In an ideal world, I see anybody that's potentially going to sell their home, obviously, to call Brian, but also going to buy a home. I want them to call you first, and then I'll get in contact with them, and then I'll start that pre-approval process, basically. And that's all the difference in the world.
Would you agree that perhaps one of the most stressful parts of buying a house is getting a mortgage?
100%.
I have to tell you that because we field complaints every once in a while from buyers that are just like, this is ridiculous. I feel like somebody has just sifted through my underwear drawer and thrown everything on the ground and looked at everything and then put half of it back. And I just feel like I've been totally violated, from a privacy standpoint. And the amount of documentation that I'm having to do for these lenders is absurd. But here's the deal. Well, maybe I'm not going to give my opinion on that. You give your opinion on that,
so
Michael.
my opinion on that is that it is intensive, and we look at a lot of documents. What I like to see people do is get the headaches out of the way first. It's pain. It's time.
Is it preventable?
100%. And here's the important thing. It doesn't cost any money to get pre-approved. All it costs is time. There's no commitment. There's no anything other than your time and my time. So there's no charge to do this. There's no fee. You'll end up with time and an inquiry on your credit report. So that's basically the cost of getting pre-approved. But what it offsets is massive. So again, like I already said, we don't have a question of whether or not we can get you approved anymore. We know exactly how much we can get you approved for. We take all the question out of it. You hear those nightmare stories about last-second issues with the mortgage and because something came up. That's all gone. I don't have a question anymore. I know what the conditions are that we have to meet to get this approval. I will let you know if I think we're going to have a problem. And then one last point I want to make that this might help you is that if you think about getting pre-qualified versus pre-approved and you're selling a home, and you get two different offers, and one person's pre-qualified and one person's pre-approved, has loan commitment, and they're both at the same purchase price, it's kind of a no-brainer which one you're going to go with.
You know, it's funny because you took the question right out of my mouth, and that is that, yes, when I'm representing a seller, I put very little stock in a pre-qualification because if that, here's what you really have to understand, and this is just the truth, and this is what, frankly, I hate about the boilerplate South Carolina real estate agents contract, is that the financing contingency in a purchase agreement expires at closing.
It should be a couple days.
Yeah.
And I regularly see 15 or 30.
And I mean, you've seen this all the time, I'm sure, where a buyer gets through the process and then because they were only pre-qualified, something was found or some sort of explanation was given to the lender based on questions they had, that resulted in that buyer no longer being able to get a mortgage.
It bogs down the entire process.
And so then, because the way the contract is written, not through any fault of either party, but just because of the boilerplate nature of the document, that buyer has the ability to say, oh, well, hey, you know, whatever, I get my earnest money back. Sorry, that sucks for you. You go back on the market now. You have nothing. It's, you know, we really try to be careful about what we are or who we are getting in bed with when I represent a seller and somebody wants to buy our house. And that comes in the form of a very strong pre-approval letter. If I get offers all the time where we don't have either a pre-qualification or a pre-approval. And I have to go back to those agents, of which there are so many that really just don't have much of a clue at all. And I say, the seller's not going to give your offer any consideration whatsoever until we know that you have the ability to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
Which is totally fair. And so some sellers or some agents might be like, hey, come on, it's an offer. You know, they're going to pull it if we don't do something. You got to take it. That's BS in my opinion. Mm-hmm. All they're doing is putting their interest in a deal and a commission ahead of your best interests as a seller. Anyway, sorry for the rant there.
It goes both ways. So I've got loan officers who never name names, but I get loan officers in town too that'll issue a pre-qualification, and sometimes I haven't even seen automated underwriting ran on it, which is kind of like a pre-underwriting, if you will, in the mortgage world. But they don't even do that. So it goes both ways. So getting a trusted real estate agent and then getting a trusted lender is what you're looking for.
One final question on this, something I just thought about, but what is essentially the minimum that a buyer could do to get a pre-qualification letter to appear as though they might be able to get a mortgage?
Well, technically speaking,
yeah,
it's a lot more than what actually happens, because it says right there on that pre-qualification letter that you have, this is not loan commitment and it's subject to A, B, C, D, E, and F. What is supposed to happen is the loan officer for a pre-qualification is supposed to take an application, pull credit, see your bank statements, see your pay stubs, see your W-2s, and then finally run automated underwriting. Ideally, the last piece of that is the loan commitment or the actual loan approval, which turns it from a pre-qualification to a pre-approval. So it's basically everything except loan commitment has to happen. And that loan commitment is where an underwriter goes in, live underwriter, make sure all the boxes are checked, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and then issues the loan commitment.
Okay. So now that we know what the technical answer is, what is without naming any names or without getting yourself in trouble, what is it that a lender could do to issue a pre-qualification letter to a buyer just to get them to seem legit in the eyes of a seller or a listing agent? In other words, if I were a buyer, let's just do some theoretical scenarios here. Let's say that I told you how much money was on my tax return, my adjusted gross income. Okay. Let me say that I gave you that for the past 2 years. Let me say that I gave you a picture of my most recent bank statement. I'm self-employed, obviously, so I've got 1099s, even though the way I'm run is an S-corp, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of that, but I give you a bank statement or a snapshot of my investment account, and it shows you what sort of cash I have in the bank and what my assets are, and you run my credit so you know what my revolving debts are. Based on that, could you get me a pre-qualification letter?
That's more than what I sometimes see. That's way more, actually. I've seen pre-qualifications as simple as taking a phone call, getting the background info, where do you work, that kind of thing. Based on a phone call, technically you can do a pre-qualification because that pre-qualification says it's still subject to income review asset review, everything. It's on that document.
So
it also says this is not approval for a loan.
This is what I'm getting at, and this is what frightens the heck out of me, is that have we as an industry gotten closer to those days in 2006 to 2008 where you could do a stated income, stated asset, no doc loan? You can't get the loan. I get that, but it seems like you get a pre-qual.
Absolutely. It happens.
And if you're making a decision based on that pre-qualification letter and it's a stated income, stated asset, no doc situation, no documentation situation, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's
a flaw that your agent needs to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, when we come back, I've got one more big question for you, and that's how, when shopping for a lender, we always focus on the interest rate, but we never really focus on the cost associated with getting a loan. So when you stick around and come back, you're going to learn what those costs are. And if you're thinking about refinancing or you're thinking about buying a house, you're going to understand how to compare lenders and loan officers. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And of course, reach out to me if you have any questions or want to get in touch with Michael Santelli of Guarenteed Rate. My website is listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or give me a call at 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273. And of course, you can email Michael directly, michael.santelli, Santelli, at rate.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA.